Thank you, Giampiero. Now is the time of Maria Letizia Tanturri and Annalisa Donno, Gender, Families and Childlessness. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so now we still work on couples, but we are more concerned about gender roles within the society in general. So we know that the generalized growth of women's education is an important longer-term determinant of fertility decline and also childlessness in advanced societies. But we know that with the expansion of women's education, usually fertility decline has been observed in all industrialized countries. And, but it's true that the effect on fertility can change according to some cultural specific traits that may interact with the change and mitigate or enlarge its effect. There is a nice, interesting topic, interesting papers on this respect. For instance, the paper by Osve and co-authors working on trust. And we follow a little bit the same line of reasoning. And in this case, we think about the moderating effect of this big structural change, like the increase of education, with gender egalitarian attitudes that in some societies prevent this strong decline that has been observed, for instance, in Italy or in Spain or in Greece, in Mediterranean countries in general, or in Southern Asian countries, while we know that at least in the first phase of this change, in some other countries like in Northern European countries, the increase of women, the expansion of women's education has not resulted in such a drop in fertility levels. But we also want to analyze another aspect that has been under studies in empirical papers, I would say, while it's been very well presented in more theoretical papers. That is the relevance of familism or those that we can call family-centered attitudes. And indeed, this cleavage between the society that are more based on the individualism and the family-centered societies is the last studies to explain fertility difference compared to the gender equality related one. So the idea of this paper is to fill this gap and look at the interaction between this female education increase and fertility outcomes. And well, here it's very well known, the model that probably will be presented also later, but no? Okay, so the idea that we have a starting point in the equilibrium between number of children and gender equality is that when gender equality is low, fertility can be high. But as soon as society changes towards gender egalitarian, it's possible that women are more educated and enter the labor market. And so this is the result in a drop of fertility rates. But the idea is that there is a second episode after that, after this drop, and fertility can be higher again when the society changes accordingly to this big structural change. The society in terms of, for instance, the provision of childcare for working women or other policies like this, but also another important change is the men's role within the household, and as soon as men started to enter also they are more active also and more helpful and more providing care and domestic and domestic chores as well, fertility can increase, as happened for at least for a while in Northern European countries, even if now the drop in these countries can be a bit debatable with this respect of this model. But families and the link between families and fertility can be also detrimental for fertility, because childbearing can be particularly challenging where there are too many family obligations, for instance. And then in those countries where parenting is very high intense, and also the standard of domestic comfort is very high, this can increase the cost of childbearing in terms of time, for instance. Then there's also a mechanism that has been studied here also from Giampiero Della Zuanna, the upward social mobility reason. So the great investment of parental resource to guarantee children's upward social mobility can result in fewer children. And then where children are basically family issues, it's possible that family-friendly policies are scarce, like in Italy, for instance, or maybe scattered sometimes. And so there is also low demand for childcare services that can be also an obstacle to a big change in society in these terms. So the idea is women's education have a negative effect on number of children, but can be mitigated, this effect, by gender egalitarian attitudes within the country. But, and this is the first hypothesis, the second one is that while feministic attitudes indeed can can exacerbate the decline of fertility fueled by education level increase. And so we use as data source 3 waves of the World Value Survey and the European Value Survey study. And we select men and women that almost completed their fertility age. And so we have data for 39 countries. And we use as dependent variables the total number of children ever had. And as variable of interest, we look at the country-level women's education for 5 cohorts group, measured by the proportion of women who completed the education level after the age of 21, the country level of gender egalitarian attitudes, the country level of familistic attitudes, and the interaction between country cohorts women education, gender egalitarian attitudes, and familistic attitudes. And then we have a set of control variables. So to assess egalitarian familistic attitudes, we consider the proportion of respondents who agreed with several items in these value surveys. And so we found basically two factors. One that is we call familism, that is linked to the question with the importance of respect for parents, the parental responsibility for children, the fact that children suffer when working mothers. So the idea that, they are linked to familism. And there are 2 other items there, factors that 2 other items that are more linked to the gender egalitarian attitudes. For instance, if a job is scarce, men have more right to job, or it is important to share domestic chores. So, taking these 2 factors, we considered 3 multi-level analysis. First levels we have individual, second level cohorts, and third level 39 countries. It's a Poisson multi-level model. And in this model, it's a bit complicated, but I don't want to spend much time on these coefficients, but just to give the idea that we have a series of models, and in this model, when we we have a second level that is significant, but when we consider cohort level of women's education, we see that the relationship is definitely negative, but as soon as, so for instance, the education level, so the number of, the change in education level is linked to a reduction of fertility, quite considerable. But when we consider also the level of gender equality is considered gender equality and the square of gender equality, we notice that the relationship is U-shaped, as in the model, the theoretical model that I showed you before. And when we interact gender equality with women's cohort education, indeed, we see that gender norms help to reduce this level of the reduction fueled by education, women's education increase. While familism by itself seems to be negative, but when we consider the interaction becomes positive, so it means that it exacerbates. I can go back. No, sorry. I want to spoil it. So when we consider the interaction, we see that there is a negative, so it exacerbates a little bit the effect of education level. And this is, I think, a bit more clearer when we plot it in this graph, and we see that the predicted number of children by women's education, we know that we see that increase as soon as gender equality increase. So the reduction is here the drop is higher when for gender inequality is lower, and it becomes less and less important when gender equality increase. And the same can be observed also with familism, and so but the opposite in the opposite sign. So the high levels of familism emphasized fertility decline when women's education increase. So we have this drop that is much more important. So finally, we can say that the interaction between national level degree in gender egalitarian attitudes and the cohort level women's education is positively associated with completed fertility. So gender equality norms can be beneficial in this sense. And conversely, the stronger the adherence to familistic value, the more precipitous fertility decline as education spreads. And this is interesting because it's very linked also with the results that will be presented this afternoon on the new survey, because it seems that in Italy, these family obligations so probably make very heavy to have children in the perception of the young people even nowadays. So the idea that is very time-consuming, very demanding. And so probably this is linked also with these cultural threats that we have. But I don't want to spoil but the idea is that the structural change occurred everywhere, but so the increase of education, but the effect on fertility can vary according to the prevailing set of values that are very, very important. So thank you so much.
So thank you, Maria Letizia. Letizia, can you wait a minute? Since Giampiero is going to leave us in 10 minutes, if you have questions for Giampiero now, and then we go to Letizia presentation. Now another. Yeah, one question?
Excuse me, microphone?
It was just not clear for me. What is one stable with working mother? It means the man has a stable job and the mothers and the women has an unstable job. This category, one stable with working mother.
Yes, it means there is the woman works and one of the two partners has a stable job. Could be the man or the woman.
Ah, okay, so it could be the...
Double income, but one is...
Okay.
No, not double income. It could be also the men that don't work. It's a sort of residual category, okay? Mm-hmm. But the woman had a job.
Any other questions for Giampiero? So, yeah, sure.
So I don't know if you will be. I don't know if you will be here this afternoon, but so can we say that employment is really, especially for new generation, more and more a condition to have kids from your? I mean, is there a gradient by court? It was more this the question, let's say.
Yes, in my opinion, it's a precondition mainly for having the first and the second child. For the children of other orders is different. We have to look at other things, values, religion, and so on. But the job is very important for entering, and we will ask in this afternoon also the paper of Ilaria Rocco will show us that it's very important also for forming a couple. It's not only for having the child. Then there is this double step that has before. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Giampiero.